Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the TravelMole broadcast. And I'm delighted this afternoon to have one of travel and tourism superstars, Jerry Inzerillo from the Saudi Arabian development area. He's actually in charge of a brand new mega project. I don't think they call them actually mega projects, they call them something else, but I'm going to
A
let him explain
gigabyte.
that. Right, here he is. Jerry, hello.
Well, it takes one legend to know one. So, Graham, I'm delighted to talk to you. Thank you for your devotion to our industry for over 30 years, and my warmest regards to all your listeners.
Good. Well, Jerry, you've got a long, long history in travel and tourism, as we were talking before, some years, but big names, Morgan's Hotel Group, Forbes Travel Guide, and of course the Kersner Hotel Group. But it must have been quite, I don't know about a surprise, but quite a daunting task when the Crown Prince appointed you 2 years ago to develop your project, a giga project. That's what you call it, not a mega, a giga. It's even bigger than mega, it's giga. To develop your giga project. How did you feel? What was your initial thoughts when he approached you?
Well, it's interesting because, as you very well know, when it comes to tourism and people in general, there's always a difference between what you think you know about a country and how the country operates, or what you think you know about a person and how the person operates. But MBS, as we call him, the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, we were doing in Forbes Travel Guide, we were doing some training for all the luxury hotels and for Royal Court and stuff. And I had read the 2030 manifesto for the change of the society back to the moderate society that it was prior to 1979. And I had a chance to meet the Crown Prince, and I was very taken with him because he had a great vision for tourism and for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And I thought it was very exciting. In addition to that, 23 years ago, I came to study Diriyah because I had a Saudi friend who was from Diriyah when, in my capacity at Kersner, we were developing the one and only hotel, the Royal Mirage in Dubai. And I loved Diriyah, and I loved the fact that it was the birthplace of the kingdom. So when the Crown Prince said, Jerry, we'd be grateful if you would come on to head up the birthplace of the Saudi kingdom, the UNESCO World Heritage Site of Al Taif, and can you make it one of the great gathering places in the world? And after 50 years in tourism, I said, Your Royal Highness, nothing would be a greater honor to me. And I'm extremely fond of him. He's been an amazing chief executive over the last 3 years, and we're well on our way to making it one of the world's great gathering places. COVID has a big impact, which we can talk about. But while it is vast in its scale, the first phase is 20 billion US dollars, 75 billion Saudi Riyal. And while it will involve employment at 2030 of 55,000 people, it can be daunting, but we just focus every day on doing a great job and getting ready to welcome people from all over the world to the kingdom.
Good. Well, the world's focus and the world's news has often involved Saudi Arabia in the last 18 months. But how significant do you think in terms of, I suppose, country image and almost like brand Saudi Arabia has been the presidency and indeed the hosting of the recent G20 conference?
Well, the G20 has been a significant historical event. First of all, just by the fact that it's the first time that it's ever been held in the Middle East is very important. I say to people that, with 238 countries in the world, when you're G20, that's big time because, you're talking about 80% of the world's GDP. This is one of 20. So when people look back 10, 20, 30 years from now, the fact that Saudi Arabia was the first country and first entry into G20 is going to be significant. The other significance is that, unlike in the past, where in the transition of the House of Al Saud, when you look at the 127-year history, and certainly the 90-year history since the kingdom has been independent, all the kings, none of them have been as young as the Crown Prince, who is 35. Now, our wonderful His Majesty the King, the custodian of the two holy mosques, King Salman, is robust and healthy and fabulous at 85, but the Crown Prince is only 35. So when you look at the G20 in the next cycle to Saudi, he will be 55. If you look 2 cycles ahead, and there's no one in the world that I know, a head of state, that, because the G20 is still relatively new, that has gone through 2 cycles, but the Crown Prince will have at least 3 cycles. And that's very, very momentous for the kingdom and its leadership role in terms of empathy, compassion, like the way we've handled the COVID, resolution of conflict, and most importantly, to make it one of the principal tourism destinations in the world where people can gather, learn about all cultures, all faiths, and be in a beautiful country. So I think it's very significant.
Do you think that tourism, you've been in it long enough, I've been in it long enough, to think that tourism will also assist in Saudi Arabia's international standing?
I think it will. And, you know, you're one of the best traveled people in the world. So the one thing that you and I know is that we in tourism, we in hospitality, we're de facto ambassadors, because when people come and gather in festive, non-confrontational environments, they share food, beverage, festivity, and they get to know each other. And then that permeates all cultures, all theologies, and it brings us together as one human community. So I think that what happens is that you have certain countries, like if you look at Australia and you say, okay, well, you only have 2 words to describe Australia. Most people would say friendly and big. You know, you think about the success of Singapore, people would say clean and shopping and urban. You know, you talk about Switzerland, people would say, you know, mountains and skiing or chocolate or, you know, positive things. So with Saudi, because it's been closed until last September, when we opened up the kingdom, thanks to the Crown Prince and our wonderful Minister of Tourism, His Excellency Ahmed Al-Khatib, we opened up a pilot program to 55 countries, including Macau and Hong Kong, and we were averaging 55,000 visas a week prior to the COVID shutting us down in March. Now, in that time, when the Saudi Tourism Authority canvassed all the people that came as to the positives, the 2 top positives, number 1 was, wow, we had no idea how warm and friendly the Saudis were. Well, you know, those of us who've had a chance to come to Saudi always knew that, but why should that be a secret? And then the second thing is that people were staggered by the variable topography of the country, because people thought Saudi was one-dimensional, deserts and camels, and they didn't realize that there was snow in the north with Tabuk and beautiful rows of pastures in Taif and Al Suda, beautiful green canyons and rivers. So when they came and started going on social media, they had no idea at the diversity and especially pristine beauty like the Red Sea. So, you know, the cultural heritage sites, we have 5 UNESCO World Heritage Sites and more in application. So these are great things, because I think tourism will clearly change the perceptions of the kingdom.
Excellent. Well, do you think, given the wealth of attraction, UNESCO World Heritage Sites that you talk about, and we will get into a little bit more detail about your specific project, but do you think your biggest challenge, and the biggest challenge for Saudi Arabian tourism, is actually brand Saudi Arabia, actually building that brand around the world so people instantly recognize it as not some huge desert all full of sand, but actually full of all these things you speak about?
Yes, we do feel that. The Crown Prince is very focused on that. And I will tell you that His Excellency Ahmed Al-Khatib, our Minister of Tourism, and the wonderful His Highness Prince Bandar, our Minister of Culture, These are perceptions that everybody's aware of, and everybody now knows it's time to change the perceptions. So the Crown Prince has given us in four ministries, meaning in the Ministry of Tourism, Ministry of Culture, and then a Ministry of Sport and the General Entertainment Authority. He's given those entities, in addition to the Giga projects, very robust budgets to put on the world's greatest sporting events and entertainment events. And we're in the process now of spending billions and billions of dollars on infrastructure and roads and airports to connect the kingdom. The kingdom is quite a large country in terms of its tourism infrastructure. So even with the COVID, the Crown Prince made a gamble. I use the word gamble, but the Crown Prince made an assessment that the world community would join together, and that his assessment was that within 1 to 2 years that the community would come together and come up with a vaccine. Now, in recent weeks, there has been some extremely promising news about the vaccines. So why do I mention that assessment? Because the Crown Prince has instructed all of the CEOs and the ministries not to interrupt the planning. So when the vaccine comes and travel patterns are at least beginning to restore, that the kingdom will be ready to handle the visitors that are coming in. So we had an amazing tourism campaign on Brand Saudi, very beautiful. I just watched, as a member of the Saudi Tourism Authority, I just watched the new campaign for 2021. It is visual and breathtaking and emotional. So Saudi has very good recognition. Everybody knows where it is. Everybody understands the importance, and it's just a question that they don't know what happens when you get here. So when you get here and they see all the cultural heritage sites, all the staggering beauty, the welcome from the Saudi community, the intention is not to have them come and bucket list it and say, I was in Saudi Arabia once and not come back. We want people to come back many, many, many times. And we're putting all those preparations in place. And the Crown Prince has been fearless on that. I mean, he has said, we are moving full speed ahead because as part of the Vision 2030 manifesto, we want to take tourism from 3% of GDP to 10% of GDP. And we want to be able to welcome 100 million visitors, and everybody's working towards that goal.
Now, that's very good. Let's concentrate a little bit on your specific responsibility, the Giga project, I forgot what they called it, the DGDA. What is it, and where are you at with it? When can I come and see it?
Yes, well, we're very blessed because the birthplace of Saudi Arabia and the birthplace of the Arabian Peninsula is in the middle of one of the most beautiful oases in the world, which is called the Wadi Hanifa, which the Wadi Hanifa runs through the principal Saudi city of Riyadh, central Riyadh, and it has for thousands of years. And we have documented historical human history in the Wadi for over 1,000 years. Now, when you go back to 1744, people started enjoying that Wadi because it was cooler, it was a place to rest, there was water, there was food. It's one of these oases filled with dareya, golden palm trees, meaning the dates are golden. And then it was rich, and through the palm trees and the fertile soil, crops grew. So people started living. And then 300 years ago, you had 30,000 people assembled into the mud city, all the homes and villas and palaces made out of mud. So the UNESCO World Heritage Site of Taif, located in Riyadh, it was from 1744, is a treasured site. So thanks to the restoration of that site by His Majesty the King when he was governor, it is in pristine condition. We've now retrofitted it for COVID protocol and post-COVID protocol. We've just opened up our beautiful, beautiful UNESCO World Heritage Site, Al Ula, in the northern, central northern part of the country. Diriyah is opening up today. Our Taif is opening up next week with all new COVID protocol. But the UNESCO World Heritage Site has never been in better condition. Now, in order to take care of millions of people that will come visit the kingdom, we are adding a whole amenity that will be a community of 7 kilometers that surround the UNESCO site. This is meant for people to live in, to learn, to recreate, to explore, to be festive. So to do that, we have 6,000 residences, a brand new King Salman University with several colleges, different school systems, souks, 100 restaurants, 30 hotels. Many cultural institutions, the new House of Al Saud, celebrating the family's continuous leadership of the kingdom, the new Saudi State and Arabian Peninsula hotels, the Contemporary Art Museum. So we have many cultural institutions because in the Crown Prince's vision, Diriyah is meant to be the largest cultural heritage city in the world, taking advantage of the old building materials, the mud, the wood, and a lot of that will be built in the old Saudi materials, Saudi state materials. But the underground city underneath it will be all the most modern technology with 40,000 parking spots and the best sustainability in terms of the use of wind energy, solar energy, electrical energy, the reuse of water, all environmental, very highly sustainable infrastructure under the city so people can go up into what the city would have looked like 300 years ago. So we are now in the process of a 7-kilometer, $20 billion Giga project, and you can come visit now to visit the UNESCO World Heritage Site. But we will start streaming amenities, restaurants as early as November of 2021. We're getting ready in February to host our 3rd Formula E race. We have over 100 activities, entertainment and sport activities. Of course, a lot of that will have to do with where the world is in terms of its COVID-19 protocol. But we're looking forward to welcoming guests back as early as January.
Very good. What a lot of our listeners will want to know is what role do you envisage and do you think the wider Saudi Arabian tourism industry will see for the travel trade, not just perhaps here in the UK, but globally?
Yeah, you have to give great credit regionally for the wonderful visionary leadership of the United Arab Emirates. So when you think of Mohammed bin Zayed and you think of the leadership of Abu Dhabi and the Emirates, and you think about 2 great visionaries, Sheikh Mohammed Maktoum and Sheikh Ahmed Maktoum, the chairman of Emirates Airways. I remember going to the Emirates in 1990, and then when Kerzner, we built the Royal Mirage, which is 22, 23 years old before we built Atlantis. But if you look at the 30-year arc, you look at what Emirates has become. The difference with Saudi Arabia is that Saudi Arabia is much older. It has a greater degree of cultural history, heritage, and authenticity. So when you come to the Gulf now, you want to come to where it started. And then you can venture out and look at UAE and beautiful Oman and Kuwait and Bahrain. You know, you can look at the other GCC countries. So what we're very much looking forward to, along with our wonderful partners in UNESCO, is to say, come to where it started, come to where it originated. And this is a very rich cultural heritage. So post-COVID, people are, that trend was already starting. You know this, Graham. And that is that people were looking for more experiential tourism, and they were looking for authenticity and things that were unique. Well, that's the one thing that Saudi Arabia has in abundance, and fueled with the vision of the Crown Prince and great leaders like Prince Badr and Ahmed Khatib and their excellencies. We're going to be able to we're going to be able to expose that to hundreds of millions of people around the world.
Do you think that with the numbers you're talking about, there's a danger of over tourism, that there's a danger that mass tourism will actually devalue some of your heritage sites?
It could indeed, and that comes up quite a bit, because you see, with respect to today, if the UNESCO World Heritage Site at Tadea, this is not a theme park. This is sacred. Now, it's not sacred in the context of the custodian of the two holy mosques. It's not sacred like Mecca and Medina, which are the heart and soul of the all Muslims around the world, and the heart and soul of Islam. But on this cultural heritage site, we have no intention, like other places in the world, of just having them trampled upon. But it's a very large kingdom with many, many, many amenities. And we hope to spread it out where we will be very careful. The other thing is that the Crown Prince at 35 years old, you would expect this of His Majesty, who's a very accomplished historian, King Salman, His Majesty King Salman. He's a historian. He knows everything about Saudi history, Saudi families. He'll stop people on the street and your grandfather did this and he did that. I mean, he's an extraordinary person. But the Crown Prince at 35 is strict on two things. He's extremely strict on the preservation of cultural heritage. He will not let things get run down. He's extremely strict on authenticity. He will not let false materials or non-indigenous plants. He will not do anything that's overly thematic or cute. And then the other thing about him is that he's extremely strict on environmental issues. So if you see all the beautiful planting that's going on in the Red Sea, he will not disturb that ecosystem. So we will attract a lot of tourists, 100 million, but we feel that in our plan, on an annualized basis and distributing those 100 million around a large kingdom, we can do it in a way that will have respect to the culture and also respect to environmental and sustainable protocols.
Excellent. Well, Jerry, I wish you the very best of luck, which, despite the backing of the royal family, despite the mega and giga budgets, it still must be a challenge for you. I have one final question for you. That you're based in Riyadh, and I wonder how you get your fix of Sicilian cuisine there. Is it good?
Yes, and I'm going to tell you a big surprise. And I won't mention a name, but several members of the royal family are unbelievable good chefs. And one particular member of the royal family is expert in cooking Sicilian food. So I'm doing very well in that category. And by the way, the food in Saudi Arabia is amazing. The Saudi food is good, but we have amazing restaurants here. You know, all the great Italian restaurants are here. They're all coming. All the great hotel brands, the luxury brands are coming. So people will have a wonderful culinary experience, especially in Saudi. So I don't have to worry about my fix, but you know, when we get this thing finished, I'm sure that the boss, MBS, will give me a week off sometime after 2030.
Good man. Well, I'm sure you're looking forward to Ottima Cena in Riyadh later on this evening. I'd like to thank you for your time, Jerry. It's been very interesting. And as I said, I wish you the very, very best of luck.
Well, Graham, thanks again. Thanks for your devotion to the industry. And as we say here in Direa, there's only one Direa, only one. So come visit when you can, and my regards to all your wonderful listeners. Come visit us in Saudi. You're most welcome.
Cheers.
Cheers.